Hello guys, welcome to Java JSM, and in this video we can talk about findBy method. We are going to customize those method in the JPA with the help of the JPA. The question is, how can I retrieve record from the database based on the non-primary key? As of now, we have seen the method called findBy ID, right? Find by ID, or this id is this method is predefined and it's only working on the primary key. It will not work in any other key. If you go with some any other key, it will not work. It will work only on the primary key value. Okay, so these methods we are going to use. You have already used it also, but now the question is how we can retrieve the data based on the non-primary key also. Is it possible or is it not possible? How we can do it? How we can customize our find by methods? Okay, those things we can discuss today. So let me start my workbench. Okay, so this is my SQL workbench. We are going to start. Meanwhile, let's see the STS. So in the STS, if you see here, I have configured already the properties file, which is my tempdb and user ID password, so SQL query format or DDL auto update also. Those configurations I have done. Also, I have created the repository also based on this user entity, and there is no method inside this. Okay, I hope you are able to see. Okay. Next thing is we have created the entity also. So if you see the entity, it's pointing the user tables and this field having this name, ID, name, password. Okay, and then after we have created one main class which we have not created. This is the main class which is automatically it's given. So we have created the context for that, and then after we are using the user repository. Okay, so context dot get bean user repository, so we get the user repository object here, and then after we are trying to call find by methods and we can read those data. Okay, so if you go to the workbench, let's connect with the database. Okay, once connection is happened, we can see our database and what are the tables are available and how we can utilize those also. So this is our tables. Let's open it. So let me, okay, fine. Now if you see here, if I click on that user tables, in that tables having a two records, 1001, 1002. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to fetch one record based on this user repository. So what I will do is, here I will write one method, user repository dot find by id, find by id, and I will pass my id name, which is 1002 or 1001, anything. It will return one optional class. Okay, this is containing the user data or user entity data, and from that this optional class we can read those data also, which we have already discussed earlier. So I will write user data dot each percent, then we can say okay, then give me those data and we can print it simply. So how we can print it? Just print the user data dot get, so we can get the actual object and we can print it. That's it. Okay, let's run your program. Let's run your program. Now the question is, we are able to read this data with the find by method if the key is primary key. So the ID which is primary key we have passed. Let me do one thing. Let me change this ID name. So ID, or maybe I will write user ID, like that, anything. I have modified the name also in the our entity class. Okay, and let's try one more times to read this data. So if I run this, if you see, the selected user's username password is not exist in the database, but alter table user table add column user id integer not null in the database, it's added. So if you go to the database and if you refresh this, let me refresh entire. So if you see, one more id is added here. Okay, so we don't want this id. Okay, we don't want this id, so what we can do is we can delete it also. So this is the new field will be created. We already have a id, but its new field is created. We don't want those field. Okay, basically. So we have only id, and if you want to fetch the data from the database, you can fetch it based on that id also. Okay, so right now this id, and let's try to run this code. Why it's modified? Because we have written the update in the configure files, properties file. So because of that, we are able to add those new attribute. So in the console, if you see the new entities, we are able to fetch based on the our given id 1001 1002. Okay, like that. But the question is how we can fetch the data based on the non-primary key. Okay, so fetching a data for the non-primary key. Okay, so let's write here, to retrieve data or records from table, we can use some methods. So what are the methods we have? The first method is find by id. This is the first method. The second method which we have, find all. Okay, the third method which we have, find all by id. This is the third method. Generally we are using to retrieve the data, but with the help of this method we can't retrieve the data based on the non-primary key. It's only working on the primary key, or without any primary key directly it will fetch all those data, this method. Right, correct? So question is how to retrieve the non-primary column value. Okay, so what is the answer? Answer we have, in a Spring Data JPA does not having a capability to construct queries based on the findBy method name. Do you think like that? No. So the whatever the methods we have which we are using above, find by id, find all by id, those method does not have a capability to read the data based on the non-primary key. So in a Spring Data JPA, or based on the above method, it's not possible. It's not possible. So what is the other solutions we have? To achieve this requirement, what we have to do is, to achieve this requirement, we can write find by method in customized way. Okay, in a Spring Data JPA, having a capability to construct queries queries based on findBy method, findBy method name. So if you modify your findBy method name, based on that only it will fetch the data from your tables. It will fetch the data from your tables. So it's in your hand. Just what you have to do is you have to customize your findBy method, or you have to reconstruct it. Okay. So what we can do is we can do each and everything, and we can fetch the data from the table also. Okay. So let's understand how we can do it. So how we can do is like for example, in our tables, if you see, we have a data called user data. So let's me drop this table first. So I'm going to drop this table. Okay. So there is no table now. Okay, there is no table based on this ID. So what we can do, we can insert some data first. Okay, so you understood like how we can customize this. As of now you don't understood, so let me insert some data first. Okay, so I'm going to my tables. So first let us run your project, right? Then only table will be created. Or maybe do one thing, what are the user entity we have? So what we can do is give the name, column name. So column, and provide the name like user ID, user underscore ID. Provide the name for this column also, like name is nothing but username. For password, nothing, let it be. Let's run your application. So based on that property, it will create new tables in your database. Okay, so let's create. So if you see the console, it's created one table, create user table, user ID, not null, username, varchar, password, primary keys, user ID, and then after it's fired the select query, but there is no data in the database, right? So we are not able to fetch those data. Now what I'm going to do is, let's go to the database, refresh it. You can see this table. Okay, in this table, if you see user ID, username, password, there is no data. I'm going to give some data here. So 101, name is Prince Kumar, and here I will insert something called 1 2 3 4 5, 102, and Ajit Kumar. Something data I will give. Password is this one, 103, Sonu, and let's give some password. Click on apply, and let's insert these three records into the database. So these three records are inserted into the DB right now. Okay, now what we have to do is, if you see, this user ID is only primary key, username is not primary key, password is not primary key, and we have to fetch the data based on the non-primary key, right? So if you see here, Sonu is non-primary key, which is username. So I am going to fetch the Sonu data based on the name. Okay, so what we can do is, we have to create the method inside the repository, which is customized method based on your entity class attribute. So if you see, What is the username? This is the table and this is the name. So copy this name, go to your repository and create one method, public. You want to return the user entity, right? So write user entity and write the method called find by same methods you have to write find by camel case. You have to write, make sure find by name, find by name start with capital letter, find by name, and here you have to pass those name which is string type. Okay, and just declare these methods automatically. Find by name automatically method, it will construct by the JPA. JPA will construct the method for that and it will give you those method and you can utilize it. So let's go to find by ID and change it to find by name. Find by name, this method, and here we can pass Sonu or maybe your name also. SONU. Make sure whatever the data you have given, it should be a proper. So SOUN, it's a wrong data. So SONU. Apply, update, finish. SONU, capital SONU, same data you have to provide here, SONU. Okay, it's not going to return any optional class, so we don't want, remove it. Here also we don't want this condition, then remove it, and just we are going to print the data on the console. Remove this also. Okay, and let's try to run your project. If you run your project, it will go and it will construct the query for you also, like based on the name, based on the password also we can find the data. So if you see here, it's constructed the query called select user ID, username, password from the user tables, where username equal to what, which is nothing but Sonu, and based on the Sonu, if you see here, record we have got. Okay, for example, based on the email ID or maybe some other fields you want to retrieve the data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write one more field called private string email. Okay, let me create this field into the table also. So I will run my program one more times. So it will create the one more attribute in the tables while doing alter. It will do each and everything for you. So if you see here, it's run one alter query, alter table, user table, add column, email varchar 255. Okay, if you go and if you refresh these tables, you can see one more is data is available here. So I'm going to write pk 22cs@gmail.com. This is my email ID. Okay, Ajit@gmail.com. This is Sonu@gmail.com. So this is the three data which we have inserted. Let's apply and finish it. Let's apply and finish it. Okay, done. Why it's showing one more records, I don't know, but it's inserted. Let me refresh your tables. So if you just see, these three records are showing now. Based on the email ID, I want to fetch data now. So what I will do, I will go to my class and first I will go to the user repository, and here I will create one more methods like public user entity findBy. You can create optional also, that is also possible. findBy, which is the starting prefix. findBy, after what you have to provide your entity class value, which is email, which is password, based on that. So just write email, capital EMAIL, that's it. So go to the user repository, EMAIL, email, and you have to take one email as a string parameter, anything, you can give the name here and just close it. You can call this method here. So let me comment this two line and write user repository dot find by email, this methods, and I will write sonu @gmail.com, and if you see, it will return one object, and those object is nothing but users entity, and I am going to print those on the console, okay, which is users. Okay, let's run your code. If you provide the correct value, then definitely it will fetch it and it will show on the console. So if you see here on the console, it will generate the query. So query you can see clearly. Select user ID, username or email, password from the user table where user email equal to what, which is Sonu. So it's given the records of the Sonu. In the same way, you can customize based on these methods. Okay. So this is the way to customize the methods and write a query to custom query, which is going to retrieve the data from the tables. Okay. Now, based on the non-primary key, we are able to retrieve the data from the database. Let me copy this. Okay, so we have fulfilled our requirement with the help of this two query. Correct? This two query is very, very important. Next thing is, now my challenge or my question is, now I want to fetch the records based on the two parameters, or what I am giving here method is like let's write it how you can create these methods, like findBy. This one you have to give. After that, this fill in the blanks. What you have to fill your entity class variable name, fill with your fill your entity class variable name with start with capital letter, that's it. For example, in my field having a email name, so what I have written the capital name, capital email. If I have a password, so I will write password like that. Okay, and also the prefix will be same, findBy name, findBy email, findBy password, like that. findBy will always be there, and after that your field name. What are the fields name you have given? For example, if you are writing some other field names, then definitely based on that field name you have to retrieve the data. Okay, so that should be clear. Okay, next thing is how we can retrieve the data based on two parameters. Okay, based on the two parameters. Now, based on two parameters, two column name need to retrieve records from database. Now we have to do based on the two column. What we can do, how we can fetch the records, how we can prepare the query. So you can do the same thing, but only thing is like we have to use some extra things. So for example, I want to fetch the records based on the two parameters. So what I will do, for example, in the database we have a two parameter, one is user ID and one is email. I want to fetch the records based on the user name and email. So what I will do, I will go to the repository, I will customize the query. What we can do, we can customize the query like public user entity find by, it's always same, it's a prefix capital O find by. Then after you have to write find by user name. So just write name, and this is the operator, and is nothing but operator, and email and email field name. So this is the one field name and this is another field name, and in between we have to give the operators. Okay, I hope you understood. So this is the format which we have to flow. What is the flow? Public user entity find by name and email, and here you can take those two parameters like a string name or username, you can say username, or a string user email, username and user email. Just these two parameters I have given. Okay, so if I given the two parameters here, what I am going to do is, now I am going to the my class, and here I will comment this. Go to the next line. User repository dot find by name and email. This is the method I have. Here I will pass Sonu, and here I will pass Sonu @gmail.com. This is the two parameters I have passed, and based on that I will read the records, okay, which is users, and then after those user I will print on the console, okay, which is users. Correct? Let's try to run this query and let's see how it's preparing the your queries on the console. That is also very important to see the query how it's preparing internally. Okay, so if you see the query like select user ID, user email, user name, user password from the user tables, where user name is what and email is what, and based on that it's find out the records. You can see here, if you give any wrong record, what will happen? It will give some exception, or maybe it will not give the details also. So if I give the name is not Sonu, just Son I have given. Okay, and let me run this query. Okay, let's see this time what is happening and how it's fetching the records here. So if you see, it's saying like hibernate username password, or based on that it's preparing, but it's not getting any data, so it's getting the null value, so it's just printing the null. So if there is no match of the data, then it will give the null value. Okay, so this is the another way to prepare the query based on the two parameter. Okay, So that is also very important things. Okay, for example, you want to retrieve the data based on the username and password. Okay, username and password. So name is Sonu and password is, we can provide you. So let me comment this data methods and let's write down user repository dot find. There is no method as of now which we have created. Okay, otherwise let's write here first. So what I'm going to do is user repository dot find by name and password. This is the methods, and this method is going to take first parameter is Sonu and second parameter is nothing but which is password. Okay, and based on that is going to return one user entity which is nothing but users, and those users you can print on the console. But problem is as of now we have not created the method. So go to the repository and in the same way public if you not provide the public also, you can just write user entity and find by name and password. Okay, and here you can provide a string name comma a string password. That's it. Okay, and go to your this class and try to save it and try to run this query. So always query will be different based on the password, based on the name, based on the emails. It will always generate the new things. So if you see, it's getting the null value. Okay, it's fetching the data based on the user name and password, name and password. Okay, but we are not able to see any details inside this. So this is the password and that is the name SONU. So let's go here and let's try to see like why it's not able to fetch SONU, and this is the value. You can execute this query in the database also. Copy this, go to here and just you have to annotate tempdb or otherwise not required also. Okay, where clause, then after here we have to provide the name which is Sonu, SONU, and here we have to provide the password which is 34546 and try to run this query. Why this query is not running? It's saying select user ID, no database name. Okay, so tempdb temp db. And if you see, we are able to fetch the data. Okay, SONU, and this is the password. But maybe what are the query we have constructed, maybe it's wrong. So what we can do is we can go to our user entity, and if you see here we have a password. Okay, so capital password we have to give, cap name we have to give. So go to the user repository, and if you see find by name and password, I think that is correct only, but just password will be capitals. Find by name, let me write public, why it's not user entity, find by name and password, name and password, and we are passing those value from here. Okay, find by name and the password, and we are passing these two values, Sonu, and this is the password, and we are trying to get the value and we are printing it here. Okay, let's try one more time. Still it's giving the null value. I don't know why it's happening, but something is wrong inside this we are giving. Maybe method name, I think it's fine. Find by name and the password, we are passing here name also, here we are passing the password. And if you go to the user entity, we have a username which is name and password as a password, right? And both columns we have provided also. But it's not fetching the data from the database. Okay, so let me refresh. We have the details here, password. So this is the password, and this is the name, SONU, capital SONU, and based on that only we are reading it. So no, and this is the password. What is the issue? Oh my god, now it's came. I don't know why I have given that a password is wrong or something. Okay, but now it's came the value. Okay, let me go back, and here I will just 34546 34546, and if I paste here 34546, it is the same only. But I don't know why we are not able to get, maybe some Sonu's mistake or something, but we are not able to get those data. But now we are able to get those data based on our select query, and if you see here we are able to customize it also. Select user ID, username based on the our name and password. Okay, and this is the data which is Sonu, and we have provided the password which this one. Let's go with some other details, maybe this Prince Kumar. Okay, and password is 12345. Go to applications, and Here let me paste my name and password is 12345. Okay, and let's try to fetch the data. So JPA having a capability to automatically generate the query for us, okay, based on your modify the find by methods. If you see, we have read the data, Prince Kumar, password is this one, email is this one, everything. Okay, so this repository is very important, and we can customize the method name based on the end operators. Okay, only find by method we can customize it here, and based on the non-parameter query also we can fetch the data from the DB. That is very important things. So maybe based on the one column, based on the two column, based on the three column, based on the four column, what are the columns or maybe fields you want to fetch the value, you can fetch it. Just you have what you have to do, this is the suffix, okay, find by. After that, what are the fields, based on that you are going to fetch the data, mention it with the end and fetch all those data. That is possible. Okay, so that is also very important things to understood. Okay, how to customize or how to get data based on the non-parameter non-primary key value also. Okay, so I hope you understood, like based on the how we can fetch the data, and we understood like how we can customize it. Okay, so find by method naming convention is very important. Something notes you have to write down. Note is for find by methods naming convention is very important. If you give one character also wrong, it will not fetch the data from the database. Okay, so make sure very strictly we have to follow this rule to fetch the data from the database. Okay, so each and every character, each and every line of the code you have to be careful while preparing a method name. Okay, and second is method name should be represent method name should be represent method name should be represent entity class variable only. If you give the wrong, if you give wrong variable name, wrong, it will not work. Okay, in simple words, it will not work basically. Okay, so very carefully while giving the name of the method name, you have to remember this entity class field. If it is ID, capital ID. If it is name, capital N name. If it is password, a starting letter will be capitals, and everything you can write in the small. Capital E is capitals always while writing a preparing a method. Find by capital E mail, capital P password. मतलब just we have to give the capital start with the capital letters of each and every fields. Only this field. Don't go and give this name, which is database field name. Don't give this database field name. Always we have to give the entity field name, this variable name. Okay, I hope you understood how to prepare this query, find by query for the single parameters, multiple parameters, or whatever. Okay, thank you so much.